Hi, welcome. I'm Becky with Springing Art. This month, Nate Bright has challenged his Patreon group, Nate's Art Lab, to do a blowout. It's a pretty simple challenge because he's given us a few rough ones here lately. But at any rate, I've joined this group to be challenged and to try and grow. And I've done plenty of acrylic blowouts. I think there's one up here, maybe you can see. And so I decided, since I've been doing a lot of resin work lately, that I would like to do a resin blowout. I have not done very much work with those at all. So I'm going to show you a few pictures of what happened. I wanted to do a chaos style blowout on a round substrate, and they just didn't turn out very well at all. I had a picture in my mind of doing a silver, gold, and copper. And actually what I had was rose gold, not copper, but a metallic painting with a few bright colors in it. And what happened was the metallic colors that I picked were all floating pigments, and I put them on top. So they just ended up eating up all of the whole picture, and I had very little left. I had to really play with it. So I'm going to show you two of those paintings, and I still wasn't happy. I could have used one of those. They certainly qualified as a blowout, but I wanted to do a more feather style, typical style blowout, and not just a totally chaotic one like you just seen, or you will see. So this video shows you a blowout on about an 8x10 Pyrex dish lid, a little wooden lid, and I liked it. I really liked it. However, it did not dry well. Resin moves, and when it moved, it was still good. I could have used it, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. So it's now something else, but you'll see the end result. And I did learn a lot, and that was what the challenge was supposed to accomplish. So here we go. Let's just jump right in. I've already mixed my resin. I'm getting ready to add my color. So this is Black Cherry Wine by Resin Art, by Color Art. And next we're going to be using Pale Antique Gold by Dianca Pours. And then I think we're going to start mixing our black, which is an eye candy pigment paste. I think it's called Kokuyu Black. And with pigment paste, you only need to use a very, very tiny amount of them. They're very concentrated. Yes, so here I'm just adding a little bit more black into my cup. I decided I didn't have quite enough in there. And you can see I'm just adding a tiny amount here. So the idea is I'm going to have a black base, and I'm going to pour my colors over it and then blow out the colors. Yes, Kokuyu Black, I believe is how it's pronounced. It's a very, very deeply pigmented black. This is this is a Bling It by Color Art, and it's Boreal. I don't have very much resin in these cups, so it looks like I'm just using a tiny bit of pigment, and I am, but there's just very little resin. This is only an 8x10 wooden lid for a Pyrex container. It's 8x10, so I don't need very much resin in here at all. Now I'm mixing up a white pigment paste. This white pigment paste is, I believe, called High Tide. It's a piggy, this little piggy white pigment paste, and it's specifically for getting cells. High Tide Piggy Paste. And that was one of the things I wanted to accomplish in this pour, was to develop cells. In resin, you develop cells just like you do in acrylic paint. It's based on the paint density. Oh, I'm going to add a little bit of Laura's Art Corner Baby's Breath, which is just a sparkly pigment, just to add some sparkle to my white, because the white is a flat white. Just a little bit of sparkle. So as I was saying, you get cells in your resin the same way you do in acrylic paint. When you spread your paint over or your resin over one color over another, the lighter density pops through your heavier density and you have a cell. So I'm trying to create cells. That's the object of this. And I found out I didn't have enough black paint here, so I mixed up a little bit more. I'm speeding through some of this. It was pretty boring even for me. And we're just about ready to start adding our colors, just using the torch to get rid of a few bubbles. I'm going to add my gold first. I want it on the bottom because this is a float to the top gold, and the problem that I had in the two round paintings that I showed you at the beginning was that my golds and my silvers floated to the top, over top of all of my colors. So I want to put it down on the bottom, just a very small amount of it. Put my colors over top of it so that that heavier gold should stay down a little bit, and that should not cover over my colors. That's my assumption, and we'll see what happens. So I'm adding that deep cherry wine, blackberry wine. It's written it in the description. And this is my white. And finally I'm going to add my blue, my boreal. I'm going to use my heat gun now to heat the resin up. That will thin it out and make it easier to blow. Previously, I blew it out with this hot air gun. I think the challenge might actually say a hair dryer. I had used this blow dryer for my previous pictures, and I just felt like it might have thinned it down too much, and that caused a lot more of the pigment to float. The pigment floats when it's heated. At any rate, I just felt like I might have more control with the hair dryer. So I did heat the resin so that it would move, and you can see that it's moving very well just with my little Berta, which is not very powerful. In this case, the white actually took over a bit. It is heavier, so it's covering some of the other colors, and they're not moving as well because the Berta is not as powerful, but at least my gold is not floating all over top of everything, including all of the colors. And just another little touch with the heat gun. Get rid of any stray bubbles in there. See what effects the heat gun might have on the resin. And I'm not completely happy with it, so I'm going to remove my respirator for a few minutes and blow it by mouth. Excuse the head in the way. And I think I have it just about where I want it. A little bit more. I'm pleased. I did have much more control doing it this way. My gold did not overtake everything. I got some fairly nice cells. You'll see those in the end pictures. I have a small room, and while I have some ventilation, I don't believe that it's adequate to protect me from any possible side effects from the resin. The resin, some resins can get very stinky in my room, so I know that it's hazardous if I can smell it. Or at least I'm making the assumption that it is, and I protect myself. But especially, even though this is a non-VOC resin, especially when you heat it with the hot air gun or with the torch, as I'm doing now, you can potentially release some hazards. So wear your respirator. Check with your physician to make sure it's safe to wear your respirator, but I think it's safer to wear it than not for me. So here's our end pictures. I like this painting. I wish that it had not changed as much as it did after it dried, but I learned a lot from doing it. I hope you learned a little bit about working with resin. And in the meantime, join Nate's Art Lab. We have a great time. We learn a lot through our challenges and have a great group to support and uplift you. So have a good night, everybody.